What are the Atlanta Hawks going to do in the future? This is a question that many Atlanta Hawks fans have wondered, pondered, gotten upset over. And because of that, in this video, I'm going to break down free agent players that the Atlanta Hawks can go after this season ends. Now, I will say this, post-trade deadline, there's probably one absolute that a lot of people will agree on within the Atlanta Hawks and post-trade deadline, and that's the fact that the Atlanta Hawks not only got cheaper, but are a cheaply run organization. That is a fact that many people will go on out their way and say. And because of that, that may have honestly put the Atlanta Hawks in a better situation after you see what Brandon Ingram brought in, 3-year, $120 million. Now in this video, like I said, I'm going to break down free agent acquisitions for next year for the Atlanta Hawks and what that looks like in an offseason where there's a lot of big decisions that need to be made. Now, before I tell you the players that I think the Atlanta Hawks should go after, I will tell you what moves the Atlanta Hawks need to make. Number one, they need to figure out what to do with Trae Young. And side note, Trae Young needs to figure out what he's going to do. The Atlanta Hawks will probably offer Trae Young a supermax extension, which he's eligible for. The fact of the matter is, does Trae want to stay in Atlanta, or does he want to prioritize winning? And can he do both in Atlanta? And because of that, there's a lot of questions going on with Trae Young and his future in Atlanta. Now, I will say this. I think the big determinant factor of Trae staying in Atlanta is how far they make it this year. Can they make it to the second round of the playoff, first or second round of the playoffs this year? If they do, Trae Young will stay and sign the Supermax. Now, moving on, free agent acquisitions. I'm going to read a tweet that lists the top free agent names after this season, so next season, quote unquote. And these names are LeBron James, James Harden, Kyrie Irving, Miles Turner, Julius Randle, Jonathan Kuminga, Fred VanVleet, John Collins, Nas Reed, Cam Thomas, D'Angelo Russell, and Brook Lopez. Those are the top names next year for next year's free agents. Now, if you're looking at that list, you're probably like, that's not that many good players. And that's true. This isn't really a strong free agent class, and because of that, I think the Atlanta Hawks could potentially sneak in, get a player for some decent value, and then get out. Because also, the second apron is out there, and people are trying to dump and avoid the second apron. Now, of that list, I think the top three players are pretty much solidified to stay at their teams. LeBron is a Laker, James Harden's a Clipper, Kyrie Irving's a Dallas Maverick. From there, I think the Atlanta Hawks could potentially make a move on any of those list of players. Now, the players that I would potentially like to see the Hawks get, I would say, honestly, number one, Miles Turner. Now, I say this to say Miles Turner is an athletic, rim-protecting, defensive center who can shoot the three ball. That's something that the Atlanta Hawks have been trying to get since day one. But the fact of the matter is the Atlanta Hawks have Onyeka Okongwu. And I think right now they are looking at themselves and saying Onyeka is getting the job done for his value, especially when it comes to Miles Turner. Will probably make between 30 and 35 million in free agency next year. Do the Atlanta Hawks take, I would say, a step back, get rid of Onyeka, and sign Miles Turner, who could be their potential center of the future? Maybe. Do I see the Atlanta Hawks making that move? Probably not. Would I like to see Miles Turner in that, red and yellow? Of course, because I think he would elevate this roster, and he would be a rim-protecting, three-point shooting, explosive, athletic big that the Atlanta Hawks really need on this roster. Now, moving on, some other players that the Atlanta Hawks could get. Jonathan Kuminga, but he's a restricted free agent, and I don't think they need him because they have, I would say, don't flame me in the comments, but they have just as good as wings right now on the roster as Jonathan Kuminga. D'Angelo Russell, he probably wants starting minutes, so no on him. Brook Lopez, once again, is he going to be a starter, or does he want to be a starter on his next team? Probably. So Onyeka Okongwu situation, I don't see that happening. But here is one player that I think the Atlanta Hawks could benefit if they're able to sign him, and that is Cam Thomas. Now, Cam Thomas probably won't be cheap, and Cam Thomas probably wants a larger role. But Cam Thomas could give the Atlanta Hawks something that they need, and that's immediate scoring with the second unit. Cam Thomas this year averaged 24 points per game. He is a lightning rod of a player, and that's something that a lot of teams are looking for. But, like I mentioned, the Atlanta Hawks are in a very advantageous position because they have flexibility in their roster, and they could be able to pay him, between that $20 to $25 million a year. Is Cam Thomas worth $20 to $25 million? It depends on how much he scores and how much value he brings for the Atlanta Hawks. I think he is, and I think that's someone that the Atlanta Hawks should target going forward in free agency. Now, another player that a lot of people are probably going to say, what is wrong with you? But John Collins. Wouldn't we like to see John Collins back in Atlanta, the place that drafted him? The fact of the matter is, John Collins wouldn't be a starter on this team, but he would be a locker room presence and also a big wing that the Atlanta Hawks love and they could use. We've seen Larry Nance emerge as a leader, and imagine John Collins in the locker room having that same type of not only production but same type of leadership skills in this roster. The last time the Atlanta Hawks made it to the Eastern Conference Finals, John Collins was on the team and he was a major factor. Why not bring that energy back to the locker room to get this team, to propel this team going forward? Now, those are the two guys that I think the Atlanta Hawks could sign in free agency next year. There's not that many options. And to be completely honest, I think the Atlanta Hawks will probably do a little bit of nothing in free agency next year. They'll probably just figure out a way to get a backup center and keep it moving. Maybe they'll just re-sign Clint Capella to a smaller deal. I can see that happening as well. But the Atlanta Hawks, not many options in free agency, but the ones that I would like to see them target are Cam Thomas and John Collins. Now, if you disagree or agree, leave a comment down below. Let me know who you would like them to go after. They will have a little bit of room depending on who they re-sign, but also who they waive. And so because of that, I think they could make a small move that will help them going forward in free agents, and hopefully it can get one of those two guys. But like I said, if you enjoyed this video, please do me a favor, hit the thumbs up, subscribe, and turn on post notifications. If you want to see more videos like this, check this one out right here. And like always, peace.